Hi, everyone. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad to have you guys as part of managerial accounting. So, first off, I want to say congratulations on making it through accounting 1A or financial accounting. By no means is that easy, but I just want to say good job. And what you will see is a little bit of a different pace. But I think you guys are ready for this. So, chapter one, we're going to just talk about just the introduction of the book or this particular part of the book, and then we'll dive into like the nitty gritty as we go along. Okay. All right. So, chapter one, intro to managerial accounting. So just a trip down memory lane. So, for some of you, it's gonna be maybe as soon as maybe last week. For some of you, it's going to be maybe last semester, last year, or maybe it's been a couple of years. But I thought it was important to maybe highlight the differences between managerial versus financial accounting. Now, what we learned about in accounting, financial accounting is what made it different from what we'll be looking at in this particular section is that under financial accounting, the users were different, right? So we had mainly external users and company management. The nature of the information was objective, meaning, this is the facts or this is what our sales was. It's kind of straight to the point. The guidelines for preparation, it was all in accordance to GAAP. So hopefully you guys remember what GAAP stands for. So it's generally accepted accounting principles. The timeline of reporting, it was prepared in fixed intervals, meaning like quarterly, annually, things of that nature. And then the focus of reporting was mainly for a company as a whole. And we'll get into what does that mean or how is that different in the next part. But what you should realize, or what you should hopefully remember, is that there were four financial statements, and those four financial statements are highlighted here. We have the income statement, retained earnings, balance sheet, and a statement of cash flow. So switching over now more so to managerial accounting, our reports look a little bit different because our audience is a little bit different. So we have the budget report, activity analysis, and production report. Now, what I would say is all of my experience, so most of my experience in corporate America or in industry was all from the perspective of managerial accounting. So I'll be able to lend a lot of my expertise and experience from that particular realm, okay? So I'll insert it as we go along in the semester. So as I mentioned before, the users are management or internal to the organization. It's both objective and subjective. So you're usually there's a question that's being asked or you're researching something. So we'll get into that. The guidelines for preparation is it's all done or prepared in accordance to what the management needs. And so many times when I was working in industry, people wanted to know, or management wanted to know, or how much overtime did we accrue this week or this month and by department, right? So I was able to do a deep dive into that sort of reporting. The timeliness of the reporting is prepared as on a fixed interval as well as as needed basis. So the example I gave before is maybe the manager would come to me and say, hey, for this particular department, how are we doing on overtime? And again, that was on an as needed basis. And then lastly, the focus of the reporting, it can be done on a company as a whole, or it can be done on a particular segment. So I like giving the example of maybe Apple, right? So if we were external users, like in financial accounting, we would only see Apple as a whole organization and only the information they provided us with through the financial statements. However, if we worked within Apple, maybe we would be privy to having information from all of the different segments, such as maybe research and development. We will also look at, AirPods and iPads and Mac and all of their different types of products, right? Because we can dissect it from each of those segments, even from regions if we wanted. So South America, North America, so forth and so on. So managerial accounting in organizations, it really does look different in a multitude of organizations. Sometimes you would have the controller or the CFO I'm going to save this, so most of this for your business 10 class, or you can read more about it. It's just to kind of tell you how organizations operate. All right, so managerial accounting, right? So what? Why do I need this other than to transfer, right? So many of you guys are going to transfer to another school to pursue your dreams or your degree. So you're like, hey, other than like my social sciences and all of that, why do I need this class other than to fulfill a requirement? Now you'll thank me later, but this is going to be so relevant to you when you get into the business practice, and you'll see exactly what I mean. So here's the why. So maybe this is not the latest phone, but maybe we have maybe iPhone X11 or whatever series they're on, right? So I'm going to tell you how manufacturing plays a part in most of the things you guys are going to want to go major in. So for example, if we're Apple or maybe another organization or manufacturing company, when we're manufacturing things, it's useful to have managerial accounting because it will allow us to determine what is the selling price of a product, right? We're going to want to know that because we need to understand what was the input cost, what was the cost associated to making it. And if we don't know that cost, then how can we effectively cover our costs and make a profit, right? So my example is, let's say, for instance, this phone is $1,000, let's round, right? So all we see from the retail perspective is Apple is selling this phone for $1,000, right? And so then we may say, or maybe we may look up, okay, the cost of making this phone is $491. So we would say roughly, oh man, Apple is making $500 per iPhone, right? That's their profit. But in truth, we don't really know how much money Apple is making because we are not part of that organization, in the sense of we don't know how much they're paying their research and development team, and how much we're paying their marketing team and their engineers and all of these different people. So right now, all we can see is, oh, the cost of that phone is $1,000, and what they're selling that phone retail price is $1,000, but the cost of manufacturing that phone is $500. But there's other costs that we need to maybe consider as well. Why else will managerial accounting be important to you is because it allows you to compare manufacturing costs over time to help monitor and control costs. Now, this is a great depiction of the cost of the iPhone over time from all of their different variations of the phone, right, or the models. And so it started off at the very bottom. The iPhone 4S was at $196, and maybe today that the X11 or whatever one we're on, that one is currently sitting at $491. So if you're part of the management team or the manufacturing team at Apple, over time, as a managerial accountant, you want to know, well, why is my cost increasing, right? And so maybe some of those answers is because the cost of hiring good labor, or, good labor is increasing, right? The demand for those type of innovative ideas is increasing. Maybe the cost of the manufacturer you're using, or the parts and supplies you're using, the technology you're using is becoming more expensive, right? So that's something that you want to study. Next, we have, if we're studying managerial accounting, it also reports to identify issues, any kind of root cause and solutions. So I know when I worked at an organization, we would continually have scrap, and scrap basically it has no monetary value, in a sense. It's like wasted fabric or wasted material. And if you have too much scrap, you begin to analyze that, and you want to know, well, why are we being so wasteful? Is it a machine problem? Is it a people problem? Is it a combination? So again, studying managerial accounting allows you to reset and look at things of that nature, right? Also, studying managerial accounting allows you to look at efficiencies and cost savings. Would it make sense to have two different shifts versus one shift? things of that nature. And then lastly, it reports to, provides reports to analyze other performance matrix. And so we'll get into that. So hopefully I've covered or touched on each of maybe what you guys all want to major in. So if you're, for instance, looking into marketing and sales, well, I have just hit on the reason why you should maybe pay attention in this course, because when you're looking at marketing and maybe sales, you're trying to figure out what's the selling price of this item. And then how many items do I need to sell, or how many services do I need to sell in order to break even, right? So that's business, that's marketing, that's sales. Maybe you're majoring in HR or accounting or something of that nature, and you're looking at how many employees should the company have working on each stage of the manufacturing process. Again, that's an HR business related question. You're using data, maybe from the accounting department, maybe from other departments to help you determine that. And then lastly, maybe you're trying to answer the question, how would purchasing automated equipment affect the cost of an item? Maybe that gets into lean manufacturing and continuous improvement, right? All of those are things that maybe you guys are all going to school to study about, okay? All right. So we're going to learn, well, in Accounting 1A, you should have learned about 3 types of businesses. Can anybody remember what those 3 types of businesses were? So hopefully you maybe walked yourself through it, but the 3 we have is service, merchandise, and manufacturing. I put a star next to manufacturing because this is what this book or this section of the textbook is all about. We will be taking a deep dive into the manufacturing type of business, okay? So with that, I'm gonna take a break, and we're gonna pick up on the next video, taking an even deeper dive into manufacturing.